Does anyone else think that Rigpa's response to the Lewis Silkin Report, which is the result of the independent investigation into the behaviour of Sogyal Rinpoche and senior Rigpa management people, does anybody think that their response is a little bit piss weak? They had the report for 14 days before they released it. Plenty of time to have formulated something, I don't know, just a little bit more proactive. But what they've been saying to the party faithful is that the report recommendations are for Rigpa as a charity. But Rigpa is a spiritual organisation. This is the spin. In other words, what they're insinuating is that the recommendations of the investigation only pertain to them as a charity, not as a spiritual organisation. Now, that is a very dangerous distinction to make. The whole point of all of this is that crimes have been committed. So, what are they doing? They're holding their spiritual beliefs above the law. And anyone who remembers my investigation into at what point a Vajrayana Sangha becomes a cult will know that that was one of the markers of a cult, is holding the cult's beliefs above the law. This whole debacle happened because the people running it couldn't see what was in front of their eyes and stop it immediately. Are we to truly believe that they won't be sitting in the background, still writing the script for the Rigpa speak? That statement that came out in response to the damning Lewis Silkin Report, which makes it quite clear that crimes have been committed. We're talking about serious crimes. We're talking about people being knocked unconscious. And there are still people who believe this man is some kind of a spiritual guru. Wake up, wake up, wake up! Crazy wisdom and samaya are being used to control you, to brainwash you, to allow all of this to continue, to keep the people with the privileged position that they have now in those privileged positions. That's all it is. Oh, but they say, we never intended to harm anybody. In the report, Sogyal's response, not to mention the 3 central students, witness whatever it was, NOP, I think it was, their comments made them look completely delusional. We have Sogyal saying, oh, I never meant to hurt anybody. We have P saying, oh, I saw a few hits. It wasn't very hard. And then we read the reports of the actual events that she had verified. She had sufficient witnesses to verify these exact events so that she could say, yes, on the balance of evidence, this is true. These things did happen. Everything you have ever read, pretty much, is true. Women were coerced into sex. There's a power imbalance. Karen Baxter raised the issue that when there is a imbalance, imbalance, consent cannot be said to be given. Now, that is absolutely true. Some people, like to believe that's not true, but it is. because you do not have free choice if there is a power imbalance. If you don't have free choice, if you're under the sway of the power of somebody else, and even in this case, the power of a belief system, which is what gives them power over you, then there is no consent, no matter what you say. And I know of at least one first-hand account of attempted rape. Monks and nuns bloodied and bruised. Crutches being grabbed. Not just to a particular student who at some particular point in time just needed a little something unusual to wake them up. No, this was done to practically everybody that he knew wouldn't stand up to him. Consistently. That is not crazy wisdom. Crazy wisdom is unpredictable. This is serial abuse. It became very, very predictable. Meanwhile, Rigpa is spinning we're a spiritual organisation. Worldly people don't understand. No, we are the true Vajrayana. It's tough, we know. But it's the fastest route to enlightenment. You stay devoted to your Lama. You can't throw him away. Your Samaya is for life. Lifetimes. No, you've still got to believe the whole bullshit that has brainwashed us all from the beginning, from my very first retreat. Oh, I know, it looks a bit odd, but it's just, that's his style. He's a crazy wisdom master. This is how he teaches. No. Like Mingyur Rinpoche said, abuse is not a teaching method. And here we have supposedly intelligent people who have supposedly studied the Dharma and supposedly after 40 years ought to have understood a little bit of it. And not only are they believing this stuff in the face of a criminal, they are still propagating the lies that this man is somehow enlightened. No. And don't tell me I'm an ordinary person. I can't say, I can say I've got Buddha nature just like everybody else. And you know what? We have intelligence. Intelligence the Buddha told us to use. He told us not to listen to other people, but to listen to what we know is right. And we do know what's right. And there is right and wrong. If I bite my finger hard, it hurts. That you cannot deny. That hurt. That hurt is very different to not hurt. Hence, we have things that are beneficial and things that are not beneficial. Things that are right, things that are wrong. It doesn't matter that on a quantum level, my hand is nothing more than matter popping in and out of physical reality. One moment, pure energy, and the next moment, the molecules that make up my hand. That doesn't mean my hand is not here. It doesn't mean that when I bite my finger, I don't feel it. If you believe that there is no right and wrong, you have a nihilistic view. And nihilism is very dangerous. And nihilism goes beautifully with the scientific view of the West. So it's very easy to fall into it. Beware nihilism. Nihilism is when you're so tied up in your own philosophy, you can't see what's in front of you. You explain away reality with beliefs, or you try to. That is not Dharma. Dharma is being here, now, relating to what is before you. It's not about explaining away inconvenient aspects of reality. Yeah, I'm not a teacher. Yeah, I'm not enlightened. But guess what? To me, that's just really obvious. And I've done enough study of the Dharma to know what's Dharma and what's not Dharma. And a Lama, anybody who does the sort of things that were detailed in the Lewis Silkin Report, has no business teaching anything, particularly not Dharma. Why don't people get this stuff? I know why. It's really sad. It's called brainwashing. The report coming out has raised the issue again. And I see on Facebook, on people's posts, people spitting out the same old Rigpa speak, the crazy wisdom, the you're not enlightened so you can't judge sort of, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's a party line. It's cult speak. Yes, because we hear it over and over and over and over, and they're still saying it. They're still saying it. The Lama has been outed as a criminal who has assaulted people, emotionally abused them, and sexually coerced them, if not raped them, at least in some instances. And they're still telling the same story. Oh, not in public. Oh, no. In public, we're just vague enough that it sounds like we're doing the right thing, but that nobody has too clearer expectations of just what exactly it is. Vague, like Sogyal's teachings. Very vague. How much in a retreat of teaching did you actually get? Not a lot. We did watch an awful lot of emotional abuse, however. What we didn't see was the really bad stuff. But we now have no reason to turn away from the truth. That's the point of an independent investigation. A lawyer who knows what's legal and what isn't. And she said crimes have been committed and people need to go to the police. Now, if Rigpa could actually stop brainwashing their members and wake up to the fact that they have been hoodwinked by a charlatan, yes, that's the truth of it, guys. You think I want to admit it? Nobody likes to admit that they've been conned. And the longer you hold on to the lie, the harder it is to give it up. And the more damage it does to you, because this is not true Dharma. Following a man who does those kind of things is not Dharma. In no way is it Dharma. The Buddha would be appalled. There's a whole sutta there where he tells you how to know who to follow and who not to follow. And he very clearly says that if that person harms people, that person is not worthy of your devotion. Now, you can talk about high teachings, but they're all based on the core guts of the Buddha's teachings, which were very, very common sense. Actually, oh, you might like to think, oh no, we're the esoteric side of Buddhism. Well, esoteric's fine, but not if it's an excuse for vague and personality cult. The way Rigpa has not changed their approach after this report comes out is, for me, the biggest indication yet that they are a full-blown cult. When you look at the language in their statement, it's the same language they've been using for 40 years. The same things are repeated. That's the brainwashing, guys. Everything you hear the presenters say at retreat, They've been told to say, you are not allowed to say certain things. I was an instructor. We had to use Sogyal's words, not our own words. And the reason for that was supposedly to keep the lineage pure. Pure lineage, I'm sorry. Sogyal Lakar, we looked up to as our spiritual grandfather, beat monks, gave them 500 lashes. Well, had someone else do it, actually, while he stood on the balcony and watched all the monks be pulled out, lined up 10 at a time, and flogged 400 or 500 lashes. Ogden Tobyal was the person who told this story. But then he sees nothing wrong with it. This is the man who said that if a great Lama murders someone, it's not a problem. Rigpa management is listening to the wrong Lamas. I'm sorry, but there is a bunch of fundamentalist teachers in the Buddhist tradition who are not wise enough or realized enough to realize that feudalism is dead, that it has no place in the West. By hanging on to their feudalism, they are digging Tibetan Buddhism, at least their form of it, into a box labelled irrelevant. You can hang on to your beliefs. You can keep thinking that Sogyal Rinpoche is a saint. And the world will laugh at you. And you expect people to believe it? The only people who believe it are the people you've been brainwashing and who are still going to your centres, going to your retreats, listening to the sweet, soothing language designed to make you think they're doing the right thing, make you think that everything's okay, and they have not said that what Sogyal has done is wrong. Why? Because they don't believe it. Oh no, they think he's a crazy wisdom master. Well, I'm sorry, but Rigpa is a mass delusion. Mass delusion, that's what you get in a cult. I'm not talking about the cult word and its meaning as just a religious sect. I mean destructive cult. It's destructive because it's teaching people to think that breaking the law is okay because they subscribe to a different set of beliefs. That has no place at all in the modern world, not in my country. Here in Australia, and I think in all Western countries, you will find that it doesn't matter what you believe. You are not allowed to commit assault, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, any form of abuse. It's against the law. And to believe that somehow or other you are above the law, that is a fundamentalist attitude. And it doesn't matter whether it's Christian fundamentalist, whether it's Muslim, or whether it's Buddhist. It's beliefs that are dangerous to society. It's holding on to a religious forms that do not gel with modern enlightened values. Any teacher in a school in this country who behaved like that would be in prison. And here is a spiritual teacher, someone we're supposed to hold up as some kind of role model for how we should be as a spiritual person. And this person still has people believing in him. It's ridiculous. Feudal age kind of belief system has no place here, now. And it's not Buddhism. You can have your code of conduct, but it's meaningless unless you denounce the behaviour that made it necessary for you to have a code of conduct in the first place. There it is. I don't doubt that I've been demonised. Oh, I've been taken over by the bad side. I've lost my way. I've broken my samaya. I'm a little bit unstable. Oh, I know. I've been in Rigpa. I know how the speak goes. When they want to discredit someone, The same words are used over and over again. Why? Because they're effective. Well, you know what? I'm not crazy. I'm not bitter either. And I'm past being angry. If anything, I'm really disappointed. You know, that's kind of the worst. But also, I know that there is nothing wrong with anger. This is part of the brainwashing. We are taught to totally reject our negative emotions. We are taught to reject our doubts. We are taught to reject the evidence of our own senses, which is that this person is harming this other person. We are taught to hear supposedly spiritual teachings in our head that cut across our perception. So we see someone hitting, and instead of seeing what's actually there in front of our head, we hear the voice, oh, this is crazy wisdom. This is Rinpoche showing his love. It's brainwashing, guys. It's totally, that's how brainwashing works. You are being taught to see something that's not there. Kindness. Where is the kindness? There's no kindness in that kind of behavior. None. There is a very sad, deluded man. And the sadder thing is that a whole bunch of people fell for the lie that this deluded man was some kind of enlightened being. As Karen Baxter said, she finds it hard, knowing the severity of the injuries, that Sogyal could possibly think that he was acting without any intention to harm. The only answer for not realizing that blood running down someone's face has actually hurt them, the only reason that you could possibly not see that you've hurt somebody in that situation is if you are really completely, dangerously delusional. Certainly you have no empathy, no empathy at all, which is a characteristic of abusers. But why would you want to follow a spiritual teacher with no empathy? Okay, so there you have it. So what do we do now? So now I look at what he taught me and look back at him and see that he's going down, man. Unless he follows the 4 powers of Vajrasattva, and it hasn't happened yet. This holding on to, oh, I didn't mean to harm anybody. Nah, that doesn't wash anymore. I'm sorry. The very least is that you're not aware of your own impulses. And that lack of awareness is not something we want in a spiritual teacher now, is it? Either way, man, you are so screwed. You are so screwed because you screwed people. And this is called karma, and it's coming back to stick you in the butt. And this report has given you and Rigpa another chance to do the right thing. If you don't, the only way this will ever be resolved will be in a court. It's not my agenda. I've never had an agenda apart from helping people to wake up to the truth. And people can read that report and still not wake up because they are brainwashed into believing that they have a spiritual attitude which is above this legal viewpoint. And they, being the special chosen few, can see that it doesn't apply to Rigpa Honor as a spiritual organisation. It may apply to Rigpa as a charity, but not as a spiritual organisation. That's the spin. That's the spin. And people who believe that spin, yep, they can read that whole thing and still give their devotion to Sogyal Rinpoche and still trust the lies that come out of the mouths of the management of Rigpa. So, I haven't said anything for a while, but this needed to be said. Oh, sure, there'll always be a few crazy people who forever until the day they die and however many lifetimes follow, believe that Sogyal Rinpoche is the real deal. There's a few crazies, but we have to make sure that students or potential students understand what makes a Vajrayana community a cult, at what point they cross the line. Will we hear from the Tibetan lamas? Will we? What do you think? Only when we make it quite clear to students that they should not choose people who have those dangerous beliefs. What is the purpose of all this criticism? Is to basically to save people from being conned. Their spiritual life is at stake. And it's also to save people in the future from similar situations. Because even if it doesn't happen in Rigpa again, all the fundamentalist lamas who think the same way that Sogyal did, all Chogyam Trungpa's lineage, all his teachers, all the people that think he's still wonderful, they all hold the same beliefs. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're very dangerous because they are cults. And because for so long as those values are held up as being worthwhile, it will happen again in the future. When people don't wake up themselves, sometimes you have to do something a bit abrupt to wake them up. Oh, where have I heard that before? If you believe that, then it shouldn't be too hard for you to believe that legal action will actually be the best for everyone. Sure, it's a tough process, but if you're doing it for the right reason, which is not anger, vindictiveness, none of that. It's simply that it's the right thing to do. That it's the only thing to do that will get the message across that this is not and is never acceptable. So there it is. That's it. Thanks for listening, and I sure hope that you guys will do whatever is needed to make sure that this doesn't happen again anywhere.